I'm on a very special road trip to track down some of America's best desserts.
Really, really good, I have to say.
Good enough for the Queen.
So jump on board as I take you around the United Cakes of America. I'm in Massachusetts to hunt down two cakes that originate from the state capital. From the classically French-influenced Boston cream pie...
To be eating this in Paris at the same time you're here in Boston.
...to a dessert truly born in the USA, the chocolate brownie.
If it looks like I'm the only one working here, it's true.
Inspired by these amazing cakes, I'm going to show you how to create an indulgent chocolate and coffee meringue cake. And my own take on a brownie with another all-American beauty, marshmallows.
And it's one thing that you learn about America. Just when you thought you've added enough ingredients, they put more on. I'm in Boston, which is one of America's oldest cities.
Founded in 1630, Boston is the largest city in New England and the capital of Massachusetts.
And it's famous, I think of it back home, for two things really, the Boston Red Sox and Harvard University.
Major League and Ivy League aside, I'm looking for a cake that's in a league of its own. I'm heading downtown to visit a real piece of the city's culinary history.
It's here in Boston where a lot of the old school American desserts were actually invented.
The Parker House is one of the oldest hotels in the US and home to the official state dessert.
There you go, Master.
The Boston cream pie. There is definitely a grand feel to this place, and I reckon the puddings here could be just as impressive. John Coriello is the head of food and beverage and has agreed to give me a tour.
Welcome to Boston.
Good to see you.
Good to have you here.
Now, tell us about the hotel.
It is the oldest continuously operating hotel in the United States. We opened our doors in 1855, and we've never shut them.
This hotel certainly has a fascinating past, but I'm here to find out about one of the kitchen's pioneering recipes.
Boston cream pie was the first time chocolate was used by our French chef in a dessert. Before that, Americans would drink chocolate.
And I take it it's been on the menu ever since then, it must have been, because it's quite a famous dessert around here.
Ever since 1856, we've been making hundreds of Boston cream pies every day at this hotel.
I love to learn about the heritage of food, and this dessert certainly has history. I can't wait to try it.
And let's go to the pastry shop.
The hotel is based in a huge building, and I think John is taking me on the scenic route to the kitchen.
James, after we have some pie, we're going to work out.
I was going to say, this is the gym.
This is some of the oldest history we have at the Parker House. These are menus from the 1850s.
So I love all these. I actually collect all menus in the UK, so as chefs, I think it's important that we need to look at stuff like this, because it's great inspiration to reinvent dishes and put some of these old menus back on.
So, James, here we are in our pastry shop, and this is Tui, our pastry chef.
Hi there, Tui.
The Boston cream pie isn't actually a pie, it's a cake.
The reason it's called Boston cream pie because when they first baked it in 1855 and 56, the Americans only had pie tins. So after that, we switched to cake pans, and of course, it's a sponge cake. So now what Tui needs to make is our pastry cream.
Right.
That's the cream in Boston cream pie.
So it's like a creme patissiere, that kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Of all the things that I've seen on my travels around America, this is classically French.
Yes.
What we're making here.
And that's what Harvey Parker did.
Yeah.
He brought the first famous French chef to America. In the early 1900s, around 1911, 1912, we had Ho Chi Minh working in the pastry shop. A little later on, we had Malcolm X, who worked in Parker's restaurant as a busboy. John F. Kennedy, our president, who grew up in Boston, gave his first speech here. He announced his run for Congress here, proposed to his wife here, and he had his bachelor party here in the press room upstairs.
Unbelievable.
Tui is making assembling this cake look like a piece of cake.
She looks as if she's done this before. How many do you sell a day? Quite a few of these, I suppose.
We make hundreds of these cakes a day.
Yeah.
That we sell in our coffee shop, we sell it in our restaurant, we sell it in our bars, we sell it in room service, we sell it for breakfast. It's sold all day long, and she makes a couple hundred to 250 of those a day.
People call this fudge topping and stuff like that over in America, but this is chocolate ganache.
Chocolate icing, it's classically chocolate ganache.
Looking at this dish, there's two elements of this which are purely classically French.
Yes, and it's very simple.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to tasting this.
You're going to really like this.
The finished product looks fantastic. Tui has certainly done Boston proud. But it's time to see if the proof is really in the pudding.
It is so simple, but often with, you know, the classics like this, the reason why they are so simple and stand the best of the time is they are so good. You go to a French patisserie shop, this is what you'd have.
You could be eating this in Paris at the same time you're here in Boston.
It's delicious. Thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
Now I'm going to use the classic French influences of the Boston cream pie to create my dish. Chocolate Genoise sponge with creme pâtissière and a coffee meringue. So first of all, for the sponge, it's quite simply, you just whisk up the eggs and the sugar first. Now the secret of a Genoise is the addition of melted butter that gives its cake the texture that you need. It's quite funny how something that's deemed fully American now, like the Boston cream pie, has so much French influence in how it's produced. Now this bit's vital. There's no self-raising flour in this recipe, so you need to get as much air as possible in this mixture now using the eggs and the sugar. Visually you can see it's changed colour and it's gone much lighter and almost white.
Add the flour and the cocoa into the mixture and stir it in gently to keep the air inside the mix.
Now the only rising agent in this cake is the whisking of the eggs and the sugar, so you need to be really careful. The minute you add flour to this, it starts to collapse. So you need to work quickly, but smoothly. Then you add the butter to the mixture now.
Pour the batter into 2 baking tins and get it straight into the oven.
Set at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's about 170 centigrade for between 15 and 20 minutes. While that's cooking, we're going to do another French classic, a creme pâtissière, which was used in the Boston cream pie. It's very simple to actually make. It's just heated milk and vanilla, first of all. Basically, it's a set custard, but thickened with corn flour.
Separate the eggs, keeping the whites for your meringue and the yolks for the creme pâtissière.
So you add the sugar to the egg yolks. Now it's important when you do this that you don't add them too early, because if you add the sugar too early, it cures the egg. And you'll end up with little yellow specks of egg yolk in there. And then what we do is add corn flour. Now this is the difference between a custard and a creme pâtissière.
Combine the hot milk with the egg yolks.
Whisk it up. And just like a traditional custard, we pour it back on here. You just keep mixing it with a whisk until it starts to get thick.
When it gets to this consistency, pop it to one side and get started on the meringue. First, add the sugar and water into a pan and bring to the boil to create a syrup. To make an Italian meringue, the sugar needs to reach a temperature of 118 degrees centigrade. Finally, whisk up the egg whites and steadily pour in the hot sugar syrup. I'm also adding some coffee essence for flavour.
And that's the meringue finished. Hopefully, our cakes should be cooked. The easiest way to test it is just press on the top. When you get a little bit of resistance and it comes back up, that's when it's cooked. This is where we turn creme pâtissière into classic creme légère, which is the addition of whipped cream. So I've got some almond liqueur, which I'm just going to soak the sponge with. Now you need to fill it with plenty of this cream.
Spread the cream out from the centre evenly. The second layer of sponge should be brushed with the liquor and then placed on top, followed by the Italian meringue. Using a palette knife, cut the entire cake, creating peaks to give the finished article texture.
It's really one way you don't have to be too perfect with, so the idea is just to get the cake spiked with meringue all over the place. But the best part of this is colouring it. And to do that, you need a blowtorch.
You can always brown the meringue in a hot oven, but make sure you keep your eye on it to avoid it burning.
And there we have it, my coffee meringue and chocolate cake. It's quite unusual to put a meringue on a cake like this. But it's much lighter than buttercream. And the taste is quite, well, the taste is very French. But it is delicious.
I'm on a mission to uncover the great and the good of American baking. Boston is famous for its historical tea party, but I'm not here for tea, I'm here for cake.
And Americans can lay claim to many things, but this one dish has to be 100% American. And it was invented right here in Boston, the chocolate brownie. For me, really, the ultimate brownie should be soft, should be a nice little crust on the top, and full of really good quality chocolate.
I'm on the search to find a brownie that's the talk of the town. Unfortunately, I seem to be going round in circles and getting a bit frustrated.
If another American beeps his horn at me while people are on a pedestrian crossing, I'm going to just leave the car here.
After a few deep breaths, I'm finally back on track and about to arrive at the Flour Bakery to meet its proud owner, Joanne Chang.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I found you in amongst all these built-up buildings. This is a great place to have a bakery.
Beautiful neighborhood, yeah, I love it. It used to be this great, huge, bustling warehousing district. I mean, you can see all of the warehouses.
Yeah.
And it was a port into Boston.
I can still hear the seagulls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about the bakery. When did you start then?
We started about 12 years ago. I actually got a degree in applied math economics from Harvard.
Right.
And I spent 2 years in business, you know, with a suit in front of a computer, giving presentations. And I decided to take a year off and try something that I'd always loved to do, which is cooking. I fell in love with the industry and I just never left.
But a lot of people who have done that in the US who I've met.
People do that here. I mean, I think there's definitely this sense that if it's something that you love, and if you're doing something that you don't love, then why not try to pursue your passion?
And I've heard that you make the best chocolate brownies in Boston, is that right?
Oh, thank you.
So you're going to show me how to make them?
Absolutely.
Good.
Let's go.
The bakery is buzzing with lots of delicious treats, but I'm eager to get into the kitchen to talk brownies.
This is one of the busiest places I've been to.
Oh, well, thank you. And this is actually a slow day.
Right, this is a slow day.
It is. It's
Right.
actually a little calm today.
So tell me about brownies then. What do we got here?
Okay, so brownies are a very classic American dessert.
Yeah.
They are a cross between a cookie and a cake.
Yeah.
And some people like them really, really fudgy, and some people like them really cakey.
Right.
And it just depends on your personal preference.
Now, I, like many, didn't realise Boston was famous for chocolate brownies. It was invented here.
Fanny Farmer, who was a cook in Boston, she's the first one credited with publishing a recipe for it.
Another slice of baking history, but now it's time to get your hands dirty.
So what I'm going to have you do is make the original brownie recipe.
The old school brownie.
Old school recipe,
Right,
exactly.
okay. Hence I've got this, and you've got that. So,
I get this.
So what are you making then?
I'm going to make our recipe. We use a mixer.
I'm going to cook Fanny Farmer's 19th century recipe whilst Joanna's cooking her own super popular recipe that her reputation is built on. Sounds like a bit of a fix to me.
Now, the chocolate's got a lot better in the US.
It's true.
Because you've imported a lot of the good stuff in from Europe, haven't you, really?
It's true.
Yeah. Which has made the chocolate brownie, I think, a lot better.
It's true, because it used to be really, really sugary, and the quality of the chocolate really affects, obviously, the taste of the brownie, and now the chocolate is so much better.
Now, you always use dark chocolate for brownies?
We do. We use a mix of a bittersweet and an unsweetened chocolate.
Right.
The original recipe just used unsweetened chocolate.
Right, so I've got rubbish chocolate, a wooden spoon, and a bowl, and you've got the best chocolate and electric machine.
Who do you think is going to win?
I wouldn't like to place a bet on it, to be honest, but anyway, I'll give it a go.
I'm pretty sure the lack of decent chocolate is going to hold me back, but Joanne doesn't have walnuts. Maybe this will give me an edge.
If it looks like I'm the only one working here, it's true.
I'm supervising.
Yeah.
Despite all my efforts, I think Joanne will still beat me in the taste test.
Yours looks miles better. Look at it already. Right. Well, I think we're both ready for the oven. And I accidentally dropped mine on the floor.
There we go.
Fingers crossed.
Joanne's Bakery is one of the busiest I've been in during my trip, and it's another example of how seriously Americans take their food. As for the brownie, the nation takes it pretty seriously too, from National Brownie Day on December the 8th to the biggest brownie ever baked, which weighed in at nearly 2 tons and contained over 2 million calories. It's time for the moment of truth, but I'm pretty sure I've been set up for a fall.
So which one do you want to taste first?
I want to try that one.
Sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Not bad.
It's not good though, is it, really? I do like the walnuts in it. See, this is what I imagine a brownie to look like. That is delicious, I have to say. That's the best brownie I've eaten.
Well, thank you.
So in 100 years, you have gone forward.
What really impressed me about Joanne's place was how busy it was. She's got a brilliant product, and those brownies taste fantastic. So I'm going to use that to inspire me. I'm going to do chocolate brownies with another American favourite, marshmallow. To start, melt your chocolate in a bowl over a pan of boiling water. I think the real secret of chocolate brownie is the type of chocolate, particularly the quality of chocolate that you use. Now, this is dark chocolate, about 70% cocoa, so you've got it, it's very rich, but also quite bitter. So I'm going to add the butter, and we just heat that over a pan of hot water. Pour the sugar into a mixing bowl and break in 5 whole eggs. Now, I add a touch of vanilla essence into this, just a little bit, and then just plain flour. The baking powder will give it the rising agent. But also in brownie, I think this is really, really important. This is important of the quality of the chocolate, and that's salt. Because what you find is a really good brownie will want you to go back and have another bite. And what the salt will do is actually cleanse the palate while you're eating it. Combine the eggs with the chocolate and then fold in the flour. We just pour this mixture into just a lined cake tin. That and spread it out evenly so it gets into the corners. And then you can bake this about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 170 degrees centigrade, gas 4, for about 20-25 minutes. And now for the marshmallow. It's so simple to make. It's basically an Italian meringue mixed with gelatine. Soak your gelatine in cold water and leave it for a few minutes. What I need to do is get the sugar on. Add the sugar and cold water to the pan and pop it onto the heat. I'm just going to add a tablespoon of liquid glucose. Remember, for the Italian meringue, your sugar syrup needs to be heated to 118 degrees centigrade. And when ready, pop your egg whites onto whisk. Now we can add our gelatine. So we switch the heat off, take the gelatine straight in. Mix this together till it's dissolved, which there it is. Turn the egg whites on full and then carefully pour it onto the egg whites. Adding the sugar syrup slowly and steadily to the egg whites, it then begins to form the marshmallow. But while that's cooling, we can prepare our tray. By lining the tray with cling film and adding a combination of corn flour and icing sugar, it prevents the marshmallow from sticking. Now you could, if you wanted to, add any colouring to this, flavouring. What I'm going to use is some fresh raspberries. When you get this, you almost get like a raspberry ripple sort of texture, but you get the whole chunks of raspberries in there as well. So mix it all together, and all we do is just pour this onto the tray. You press this into the corners. Now, because the egg whites are actually cooked, this marshmallow can keep for a good few weeks. But with raspberries, about a couple of days max. Just leave it out, let it set, which is basically at room temperature, for about 15 minutes, and it's ready to eat. Now, this is the texture that you're looking for. you almost press the top of it. As it starts to just come back, then take it out of the oven and let it cool down to room temperature. Never, ever do you want to put brownies in the fridge because it firms up like a chocolate bar. Is when you cut it through, it's soft, textured inside. Plate up a square of your brownie, then it's time to remove your marshmallow from the tray. Dust again with corn flour and icing sugar and cut into a square and sit it on top of the brownie. We're just going to grill the marshmallow just to toast it. And it's one thing that you learn about America. Just when you thought you've added enough ingredients, they put more on. Dusting of icing sugar over the top. And there you have it, my chocolate brownie with marshmallow and raspberries and vanilla ice cream. Done. You're going to need the gym after this, but it tastes fantastic. The contrast between the two dishes that I've learnt in Boston today couldn't be any greater. You've got the classic French influence of the Boston pie to the all-American chocolate brownie, full, rich in flavour. But there's one thing for sure, the Americans certainly love their chocolate.